Second loss for Alabama this early in the season for the first time since 2007. That, too, was a first-year coach and Nick Saban in Tuscaloosa. This year was supposed to feel a lot different. Right now, a lot of mistakes from this football team and a loss on the road to a Tennessee team that is not great offensively, but pretty good defensively. Your takeaway from the loss?
Yeah, look, it's not a great loss, and the offense struggled. I haven't seen Jalen Milroe play this bad since maybe fourth quarter of Texas.
That's what everybody's saying. It's his worst performance since Texas, which
he was awful. I mean, let's call it like it was. I mean, is he hurt? Is he injured? Is there something there?
I do think he's a little banged up from the South Carolina game, but not enough that should impact your throwing the football.
Well, look,
he didn't seem to be a willing runner, and that's where I wonder about his injury the most.
15 penalties, too. 15 penalties on the road. Impossible to win in the SEC like that. They still had every opportunity to win that game. I thought Jalen was really off. I thought he was hesitant about running the football. Yeah. I mean, if you go back and look at the last three games, I mean, Jalen just hasn't used his legs. 6 turnovers, 39 carries, 57 yards. So he's basically averaging a yard and a half per carry over his last 3 games.
And that's not what dominated the Jalen Milroe experience, especially early against Georgia this year. He runs the football really well. Everybody from the film guy to the guy who watches and views us and just gets basic cable and watch the game, they all were pointing out shots where, if he runs right here, that's 10, 15, 20 yards. Or if he runs right here, there's 7 yards. Oh, if he just runs it right here, that's 9 yards. And that just doesn't seem to be his experience.
And that's crazy for, I don't know where you were. I know you're in the press box, but, that point of view,
Oh, you can see it from up there. Yeah,
and just I'm like, oh my God, with his acceleration.
So you could see it too.
Yeah.
It didn't show up a ton on television.
Yeah. But, obviously it's a little bit different on television. But, it looked like he had 4 or 5 opportunities to pick up another 50, 60 yards.
Yeah.
Which would have been game-changing.
Yeah. Not in one play, but, 50,
not in one play,
extra yards. First downs. All of them were first downs.
All of them first downs. Yeah. And I know you guys talked about this earlier, or at least Taylor told me because she pulled the numbers. I understand trying to find number 2. But when number 2 is targeted 18 times and everybody else on the team could combine 23 times,
that's
Cooper Kupp-like.
Yeah, it is. Now, you don't say this about Stafford when he does this to Cooper Kupp, but...
Well, you know what? Stafford makes those throws.
But the question becomes, was that the first read all 18 times? And that's alarming if it was, right?
Most of them were, it looked like to me.
And you never get past the first read. Why are you not getting past the first read? Now, look, Williams was open a lot.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Some of these targets, if Jalen has the throw on the money or even just a little closer, they're completion. So nobody's complaining about the game plan or the decision to throw it to him. It's okay to look at him first. It's okay for it to be part of the game plan.
Well, of course, if he's the first read,
but this team isn't just Ryan Williams. I mean, they got capable receivers, and what makes a receiving corps so good when you've got a Ryan Williams is the ability to throw to somebody who's not being bracketed, who's not got the focus of the defense, because Ryan Williams is taking it away. And I think a lot of times that the comfort level was trying to force it into Ryan Williams, like that first interception in the end zone. What you read there to throw that pass and to throw it flat like he did there, that was just now McElroy explained it perfectly on television. It's a read between Milroe. If he likes the coverage on Williams, he's throwing it. If he doesn't, they're running it. And he chose to throw it out there, and they come back.
That was a great pick, though.
Oh, it was. But the ball's flat, and that's an NFL first-round or second-round draft pick that's covering him, got him covered up. He's not open, right? On the other side, it wasn't that DB.
That's right.
And there wasn't another guy out there to help with the coverage. It was one-on-one, and it was a better throw, and it's a touchdown. So it's execution and making decisions there. Again, back on the quarterback. Quarterback's a tough position to play, and we saw that Saturday.
We did. I mean, we saw it on both sides, and we talked about it going into the game on Saturday. A lot of people were talking about Nico's regression, and, we may or may not get to that. So much to talk about on the Alabama side. People have begun to talk about Jalen Milroe's regression, and there were a lot of people in the mybookie.ag chat room that didn't want to hear it and scoffed at it. You watch the guy. He's not playing the same quarterback that he played in the first half of the Georgia game against Wisconsin. He's just not playing the same quarterback. I don't know what it is.
Lost millions and millions and millions of dollars over the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, I told Maggie I wasn't counting before that, just with the stage they were on this past weekend. it was about a $25 to $55 million game for
It
Jalen
was,
Milroe.
and look, and I heard Jalen really upset after the game, which is understandable because now you've absorbed a second loss. You mentioned the fact that you haven't seen this since 2007. They're number 15 in the polls. They haven't been that low since 2010. I heard Bama fans openly saying this guy is just he's overwhelmed. The job is too big.
Yeah.
Oh, a lot of people calling for Ty Simpson right now.
Yeah, look, I am still a Kalen DeBoer guy. Maybe it ultimately won't be the right fit. I don't know. I still think the guy knows how to coach. Didn't look like it on Saturday, though. That was a complete mess. And I didn't think Tennessee looked good,
No,
though.
poorly coached team Saturday.
Okay,
poorly coached team.
let's jump into that. It's easy to say you want the backup quarterback. Thought it was a huge mistake by Sark. We'll talk about that to put Arch in at that time. But they did it. So we'll get to that. There's a reason why Jalen Milroe is the quarterback and Ty Simpson's not. There's a reason why Ty Simpson wasn't the first guy in at USF last year.
Yeah.
Right, and it was Tyler Buckner. So Ty Simpson's QB too, and you hear great things about him. But we'll break down and get to coaching in a second. But are you guys in the boat? Like
No.
it should be Ty Simpson.
No, I do want to know if Jalen's hurt. Like, it would make more sense if they're like he's got a strained oblique or, he's got a rotator cuff, something wrong with the knee. I mean, something to tell us why he really has struggled the most he has struggled this season this past Saturday. But, yes, I think you've got to go with a guy that looked like the number 1 overall pick after Georgia, looked like maybe the Heisman Trophy. He was definitely the favorite after that game.
I don't think we have the bite, Forrester, but I remember hearing it, and I'm not calling for the bite here. I'm just saying I remember hearing in the post game where Kalen DeBoer is saying, don't give up on these players. There are people that are going through things that you don't know what they're going through to get out there and play. I think he was talking about Jalen Milroe.
Potentially.
So I think Jalen Milroe does have something he's playing through, trying to help out his teammates and his team.
But I don't understand with the transparency now, or the so-called transparency with the injury reports, why you can't just say, hey, look, he's probable every week, but he's got sore ribs.
Yeah, guy's playing through it. I mean, he's going through it.
If I tell everybody he's got sore ribs,
I know they're going to be shooting
and you're
for
the
it.
linebacker or you're a good DB from Vestavia like Will Brooks, you get a chance. You going to hit him in the ribs?
Heck yeah, hit him in the ribs anyway.
That's why you.
If it's an ankle, am I going to twist that ankle?
Yeah, but I mean, you don't have to say it's his ribs. You just, I mean.
Well, T said, yeah.
I mean,
he did say. I'm saying you don't have to say that.
Well, they're not.
They're not. They're not saying anything. But I mean.
So what do you say? He's just injured.
Yeah. Upper body.
Yeah, he's just going through a lot. Now the coaching side, 15 penalties, and they are dumb penalties, and they're undisciplined. It's the most undisciplined team I'd ever seen. Really, since last year. I mean, this team, if you go back and look last 2, 3, 4 years of Nick Saban, this team was in the – go check penalties. They were I don't think they were in the top half of the penalties on the good side. They were in the top half of people committing penalties. This team has been undisciplined the last couple of years when it comes to penalties. They've made a lot of penalties. And you go back to last year, for all the people that complained about the snaps, the one thing you kept hearing was – Jalen's got a problem with cadence. He doesn't. You know how it's easier to when you're doing the cadence quarterback. You're used to his cadence because you get it all the time. And I kept hearing last year that Jalen is not doesn't give you a good cadence all the time. And I believe communication was a problem on Saturday, not just because of the crowd, but because of the cadence from Jalen there. Just from what I gathered from the post-game locker.
I only go to a couple of games a year, if that, and I think this was my last of the year, by the way. That was the loudest I remember, like an opening drive, and I think I tweeted that out. Like, that crowd was
– oh, yeah.
They were blowing up.
But back to the coaching before we talk about the atmosphere. Listen, it's easy to say, okay, they've lost 2, and that's fine.
Yeah.
They've lost 2 games. I thought the defense played better.
Yeah, gave up 200 rush yards. That's a lot, but they weren't back-breaking rush yards.
But almost everything they did in the first half, they kind of gave back in the second half. Like I thought, that was what was kind of disturbing if you're an Alabama fan is you force 3 turnovers in the first half, you're only up 7-0.
And then the receivers are open, so I don't know I don't know if you can pile on Nick Sheridan when the receivers are open and you're just not connecting the passes. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think scheme is broken for either team, by the way. I mean, you look at –
oh, yeah, Nico missed a lot,
He missed 2 wide-open touchdowns in the first half.
Yeah.
And that's when you say the defense played better Was Nico pressured a little bit? Did he have to rush the throws? All those things factor in.
That's right.
But you probably don't say the defense played better if Nico connects on those two. And again, Alabama missed opportunities in the first half too. We just talked about the interception.
And this is a bigger storyline, but I just think we are in an era in college football where there's going to be a lot of these one-possession games, and some are going to lose, some are going to win. Now, with that said, and I have been hyping, I've been the biggest hype man for Kalen DeBoer yet. I think Alabama with Nick Saban's undefeated.
And I think you're getting at, I've said it's a poorly coached, the team is poorly coached right now, and you disagree. Is that
no,
what you're going
I
at?
don't think the team is well coached. I just don't think it's different than last year, other than Nick Saban was the greatest to ever do it. But near the end of Nick Saban, you had a lot of penalties. You had undisciplined mistakes that were happening all the time. That he would chew your ass out. He wouldn't just let you come over to the sideline and not get your ass chewed. But he had a penalty problem the last couple of years. They made dumb mistakes last year at times.
Well, there is, and I put this on coaching, there is absolutely zero excuse for the Kendrick Law penalty at the end of the game.
Oh,
no
wow.
excuse whatsoever. That's coaching. That's coaching.
Well, and by the way, you make this. You bring up. The point's right. We talked about the penalties last year with Alabama, and that was why I thought last year's job from Nick Saban was the best he's ever done.
Yeah,
because they still were a play away from playing for a national championship.
Those things are either accepted or they're not, and that was a zero brain penalty right there. Killed your team. Absolutely killed. You've got 4th and 7, which is going to be hard enough already.
It is.
You got 4th and 7, and you turn it into 4th and 22 because you're selfish.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. You can't. But that's selfish. Is that coaching, or is that him being
absolutely.
selfish?
Those things are either accepted in the locker room or not. And Malachi Moore has already done it once this season. And I wonder, and I don't know the answer to this, but I've seen evidence that tells me, I wonder if the rest of the team got any sort of message from Malachi Moore's selfish penalty
because he wasn't disciplined. That Kendrick Law could do it.
He was. What message was sent? I think that's a legitimate question, don't you? What message was sent?
Yeah.
Beyond that, you almost allowed your team to get back-to-back delays of game. How was that even possible? You had 2 timeouts.
Yeah.
You let the clock run down and you missed the timeout the first time.
You did get a delay game in the first half.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And you missed the timeout and let the clock run down. You got the delay of game. And then coming out of that, the clock is down to 1. There's a snap. There's confusion as to whether you even got it off or not. Milroe doesn't even know if the play's live. He ends up taking a loss. What are you doing on the sidelines? You got 2 timeouts.
No, that's a great example. I said that in the press box.
Yeah.
Nick Saban always would walk down. He would call a timeout and then chew somebody's ass out because he doesn't want to burn that timeout there, but he never let him get a delay game.
Yeah, you've got to help your quarterback out there. He is in a chaotic situation in Neyland Stadium. It's one of the most difficult places in America to play. You've got to help him out unless you also are caught up in the chaos.
Yeah.
Which is what it felt like that coaching staff was all day Saturday.
Yeah.
It felt like the environment affected them as well. And not only affected the team, but affected the coaching staff.
Yeah, I'd love to know what DeBoer. See, I haven't seen enough of him. I knew Saban never let his team get a 5-yard penalty. Some coaches would put more value in the first half early in the game on having those timeouts at the end. Some coaches do that, and they're like, I'd rather take 5 yards here in the first quarter or early in the second quarter than to burn that timeout.
And
Nick Saban was not that way. He would burn that timeout and chew everyone's ass for, why are we not running the play? Run the play, run the play.
And these are small things, but why on 4th and 1 do you have 2 receivers that are acting like they're shooting a field goal from 3 when your quarterback's getting stuffed on 4th and 1?
Yep.
What is that?
Yeah.
What is that?
That's the discipline of the football team.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I'm with Lance. I think Kalen DeBoer is a good football coach, and he will be given time, as he should be, to build his version of Alabama football, and we'll see what it is. But this current Alabama football team is poorly coached.
Yeah.
And this guy has been spectacular everywhere he's been. And I maintain spectacular might be an overstatement for what he'll do at Alabama, but I think he'll be really good at Alabama. And right now, it's not a well-coached team.
I don't disagree that the atmosphere affected some of the decisions, but I go back last year to Alton. Alton for that Washington-Oregon game was basically a playoff game when we were a 14 playoff last year.
Was that in Austin or
I thought that was in
Seattle?
Husky.
I thought.
Was it in Seattle?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was.
I thought it was.
Yeah. But he's had to go to Alton.
Yeah.
I guess that was a year before.
When you were talking coaching, I thought we'd agreed that the team was undisciplined. I agree with you. They're undisciplined, and that starts from the head guy.
But that's coaching.
But I was talking more X's and O's. I thought the offensive game plan was fine. It
Yeah, I mean,
just
if you
wasn't
can't make a
executed.
throw, it's not on the coach.
Yeah, if you told me, the cheapy field goal at the end was circumstance for 24. If you told me you go into that game and I thought the game was going to be Tennessee 41, Alabama 27. If you'd have told me going in that you hold them to 21, 24, if you give them that cheap field goal at the end because of turnover and downs, I would have taken that all day long, 24. So that was what I was talking about, the X's and the O's of the defense and the offense, but the undisciplined part, 100%. Yeah. But some of that was leaking in the last 2 years under Dick Saban. These players that are there now started to get a little loose. Tyler Booker coming up in a second. It was getting a little loose discipline-wise over there anyway.
I'll go one more. I didn't really understand going for it on 4th and 22. Like, I think at some point.
Just different coaching philosophies. I thought the same thing. There are a lot of defensive-minded coaches who would have said, well, let's punt there. We've got our 3 timeouts. We'll play a little bit of field position if we get it back. He's of the offensive mind. He goes, I'd rather take a chance at 4 and 22. We got to hold them anyway to no first down. Give them 3. It's still a 1-possession game.
Well, yeah, but if you hold them after the punch, you don't give them the 3.
Right.
That's the difference there.
And it's still a touchdown. It's a 4-point game.
Well, it is.
But what is the probability on 4th and 22?
Very low. My chances of holding them, I think, are greater than my chances of picking up a 4th and 22. Now, that said, if Ryan Williams makes a block, they might actually pick it up. But I punt out, and then I'm going to get the ball right back where I am.
You are right back where you are.
Yeah, but I mean, that's you're giving them in the shadow. Now they kick it off. Yeah. I didn't like going for it on 4th and 22.
It's a 4-point game. I didn't have a problem with it then. If it was a 3-point, 2-point, 1-point game, then obviously I think I would have kicked it and tried to play a little field
position.
position.
Probably does in that situation.
But in a 4-point game, I got to have a touchdown regardless. And if they get 1 first down, the game's over with. So I'm giving them a field goal. So now I'm going to drive down. I got to score a touchdown. That's the only reason. But I was thinking the same thing. Do you punt here? What do you do while we're sitting there waiting for the play to happen? But with it being a 4-point game, you got to score a touchdown anyway. That's why I didn't have a problem with that. And the defense held the field goal. Now you got to go make a play. And they had, a minute 38 to try to do something, and then you throw an interception,
of course,
to turn it over. No, it's an undisciplined football team, and there's something missing offensively. There's a little something missing defensively, though. I think they took a little bit of a step forward. Didn't understand the 18 targets there.
I am pretty convinced Tennessee's offense will make you look better now. Tennessee's offense is really lost.
They are struggling because of the quarterback accuracy. Tennessee student body, unlike last time in 2022, very nice, waiting for the Alabama players to get off the field. A lot of the Tennessee players ran and jumped into the stands with the students. And they were not going to rush the field. All the guys in the front row were telling me, and then all of a sudden it started to leak out, and then they were like, okay, we're going to run out there. But again, most everyone was off the field at that point before the Tennessee folks come rushing onto the field and eventually took down the goalpost. That girl right there that just fell, white dress right there. Under
Same girl that fell last time?
Nope, she is down. She has either an ankle or a knee injury.
Trainers had to come over?
Yep. Little T was amazed at how many people, 2 stretchers, 2 on crutches, and that girl being helped off by EMS people. So at least
scary.
5 people we saw leaving
due
to injuries off of that wall.
Is it going to take Alabama to have 4 or 5 losses for people not to rush the field?
The day they quit rushing the field on you is the day you don't want to be an Alabama fan. Let me just go ahead and tell you that.
Well, this was the one that was different. This was different.
Well, yeah, they still tore down the goalpost, though. Now, that's probably a lot of Jim Beam that has contributed to that.
Yeah, but this is long after. I mean, it wasn't, as Chris Lowe talked about, 2010 LSU, last time the field hadn't been rushed on Alabama.
Does this one count?
It does, according to Chris. But I was telling him this was more like a gathering, like Clemson does afterwards.
That's right. Yes.
They let the visitors get off, and then they go out there and all celebrate.
They don't do that.
They don't. But they do serve dark liquor in the state of Tennessee.
I cannot believe how many pairs of overalls I saw on both sides like that dude climbing right now.
Yeah, there's some brand that sells that, and you get it works better in Tennessee than it does in Alabama color. Because Alabama doesn't have checkered end zones.
Works with either,
but at least they've got a checkered end zone.
Yeah, that's true. There's a reason you're wearing orange and white checkered at that point.
Yeah. Man, I saw a lot of hostility. Not a lot of Alabama fans. It almost looked, I don't know what it looked. I mean, the point of view I had, it was like 90-10 Tennessee. But then when I took it in a little bit more, it seemed like 8-2. It seemed like 80% Tennessee.
Oh no! I was just the opposite. I
didn't see any Bama.
But no, I was just saying it was 8-2. You thought it was 20% Alabama?
Yeah.
I felt it was 10% Alabama.
Yeah, maybe a little bit less.
This was and we talked about this too in the press box. I was looking at everybody and I was like, in the last few years, even in 2022, there were, even where the Tennessee fans are, there were pockets. You could tell, 6 Alabama fans bought tickets together.
Yeah, outside of
two.
that student section or the fans, the Alabama section.
Yeah, other than the Alabama section, it was almost all orange.
And I think that tells you something there, because I don't know how you guys felt, but talking to different people last week, man, I'm not going to Knoxville. I don't want to see them get run off the field.
Yeah, and there were, even in the Alabama sections, Tennessee had bought their way into there. It was sort of a little bit of a flip of where it had been. So I've been like you. I think maybe not even 10% of Alabama fans there. Great atmosphere, though. I don't trust the decibels that they put up on the scoreboard.
That's on at like 120.
124.
What is that,
Wait,
James?
124.1 is the highest I saw it.
I don't know. It was loud.
You said loudest first possession of any game you'd ever been to.
to.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I watched part of the game down on the field and in the tunnel first half and in the tunnel second half, and it was, I can't think of another place louder.
It was crazy.
Now, you guys got that. We got Miami taking knees at the end of the Louisville game over the first 2 plays, so you didn't get to see that Alabama first possession.
When I went back
on ESPN.
When I went back and broke down, it was
RBC.
third down or something.
It was third down.
When Alabama's going in the wrong direction.
Yes, yeah, you could tell right away. I mean, as soon as they cut to Neyland, you just get this crazy. I mean, you're going from Louisville. What's that place? Oh, like 60,000. You get this crazy crowd noise, and I think Milroe had just been hit. So